Next item is action items. Are there any agenda items on this agenda which board members or the superintendent wish to discuss and vote on separately? If there are, we will exclude them from the motion below. I would like to,
Really, let's move that action numbers 1 through 13 be approved on this agenda. Is there anything that people would want pulled?
I would like 11 to be pulled,
Number 11?
yes.
Any others? All right, trustee Moses, if you could go forward with a motion.
Okay. Move the action items 1 through 11, well, 1 through 10 be approved.
1 through 13 with the
1
exception
through 13 with
of
the
11.
exception of 11 be approved as recommended in this agenda.
So move.
Support.
So we have a motion by trustee Barry with support by trustee Petlicoff.
Discussion.
All those in favor of items 1 through 13 excluding 11 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, none opposed. Item number 11, trustee Moses.
Obviously, this is a continuation of the learning model. We've heard a lot of concerns about the high school, and I already mentioned that before. I would hope that the administration and the board really reviews the high school cases week by week and to determine if we need to switch to fully virtual for the high schools. So that's just my comment, and I hope that would be considered for next month as well.
Can I have a clarification for that? If you're saying you want to monitor the high school cases, I'm assuming you mean student cases.
Student and staff cases. of
Student and
course.
staff, would that be cases that are transmitted within the school building, since we know there haven't been any, or just any
Cases in
cases
general.
that are community related, spread, or any? I just want to make sure I understand what we're looking at.
I would say all cases in general. The vast majority of cases that we received are usually happening with students who are in high school or staff who are in high school as well. And I believe the numbers are just too high to keep them in person.
But I don't want there to be confusion, because most of the cases are not occurring within the building. They're
Right.
occurring
Occurring.
outside, either at home or extracurricular or whatever. They're not cases related to in-school transmission.
Correct.
So I would expand, trustee Moses, is that we pay close attention, not just at the high schools, but at all the individual school buildings. And if we see that we're getting an increase of cases, especially if it's looking like it's through school spread, that we can consider closing down those buildings.
I agree, yes.
And I believe that was the philosophy from when we shifted our metrics.
Right, right. If we start to see a spike in numbers in one building, we won't necessarily close the whole district.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
And that's exactly what we told Dr. Maleko to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
This was way back then, so this is nothing new, so.
It's nothing new, but it's something that I believe sometimes the community just needs to be reminded
No, I
of.
agree. No, it's a
Yeah.
very valid point that you bring up here, both you and trustee Moses. But, yeah, I mean, say just one school, the administration and the team's been doing a great job monitoring every school building, not just, any one particular high school. Like trustee Petlicoff says, saying that we really, I just want to add to it, we really can't control what happens in the community other than just try to advise them. Please do the right thing, wear your mask, social distancing. If you walk into a restaurant, I support restaurants being open, but if you walk into a restaurant and you're not comfortable because maybe there are too many people in there, whatever, just walk out. I've done that a couple times. Walk in a coffee shop and just look around and says, no, I gotta get out of here. Go through the drive-through, move on. But there's nothing really we can control on the communities. think the team has been doing a good job. 'Cause the reports that we continue to get, I mean, not much is happening in our buildings.
Trustee McDonald?
Just to piggyback off of what Trustee Barry said, we have some wonderful parks in the area. Grab a picnic lunch with a couple of people, sit apart from each other if you want to have that experience. Grab something to go at a local restaurant if you want to support them. We have some options. Inside, in person, close together, without mask is not the way to do it at this point. So just be smart about it. Our community needs it. We need to look out for each other.
Did
We
you
need to
spot
look-
me at Ford Field yesterday?
What's that?
Did you spot me at Ford Field yesterday morning? And it
No, I
was my
wasn't there.
idea. We had breakfast at Ford Field. It was my idea, just for the record.
Great
Any,
minds.
any additional comments?
Well, then to this is something and Dr. Maleko knows, it's been kind of a pet peeve of mine. I would like to remind parents then, and I hope that we can continue to send that message out. If you have somebody in your household who's waiting on their test results, and your child passes the screening test because they don't have anything going on, but you know you have somebody else. The one thing I was seeing a trend of, and I talked to principals, is that parents are sending siblings into school because they at the moment didn't have any symptoms, and 2 days later, somebody else that they were in contact with shows up with a positive, and so do the siblings then have symptoms and are ill. They didn't catch it in school, but there was always that potential that they could have spread it at school. So please, just because you can say, my child didn't have a fever that morning, and I'm going to send them on to school, doesn't necessarily mean it's the wisest thing to do. And if you have any fear that you or anybody in your family has come in contact with somebody who may be waiting on a positive COVID test, please don't send your children into school. You have the option to keep them home for the couple of days it might take to figure out whether you have a bigger issue at home, and let the kids go online.
Trustee Watts?
And I think COVID fatigue is obviously something that many of us are starting to feel. And so I think just to review, we have to remember that get your vaccinations 2 weeks afterwards, but these still are because it's not 100%. So these are still mandatory. And I'm sure, like you said, Dr. Malik, you're going to go through it, but in the high schools, these are mandatory. In all schools, these are mandatory. So it's not in a restaurant pulling it down, it's in the schools, the masks are on, you're 6 feet, even if the CDC is saying that they are approving of 3 feet, we're doing the 6 feet as much as possible. Elementary schools, I mean, the high schools, we probably have, some kids probably have the entire classroom to themselves. So again, those are things that we have to remember, and I think when you hear vaccinations and you hear spring, we have a tendency, probably like everyone, to be a little lax. So I think, again, it's encouraging and reminding ourselves and our students and modeling, put this on, because we want to be able to make sure that we're keeping a safe space for our children. So I think, again, COVID fatigue, it's real, it's here. And then Dr. Maliko, to piggyback, and I know that that was something that, as per building, you can go ahead and look at those numbers. And I'm sure parents right now are saying, okay, well then, what number until it instigates a closing? But I don't know if that's something that you then talk with Wayne County Health. I mean, I guess, could you explain that to parents to reassure them that there is in place something so that you are in constant contact with the epidemiologist and those at Wayne County Health, so that we are not just sitting back and saying, oh, again, an outbreak is 2 or more, but unfortunately it's 2.
So as the board is aware, we've been tracking all the data since the start. And it's in there and we've enhanced it. And I'll tell you, the first person that's gonna be calling me is Ms. Nurse Khan and Ms. Candace, who's already probably talked to the county. And it's a constant, and the nurses are Nurse Kelly, they are doing an outstanding job, and we're fortunate. They've been a huge asset, and I think some of you have seen them in action here. And that's one of the advantages, I think, of the, what we have established. The other thing is, we have, in our district, You know, it's not just, obviously, it's my responsibility in the end, and I make the final decision. Obviously, board has certain roles they play by law and whatnot, but ultimately, but I'm not just, you know, by myself. I have multiple meetings. I think Trustee Barry, you said last year, remember the crisis team meeting? We meet on a regular basis. We even have the union heads are on our crisis team. There's constant, last week I called, I think, 3 additional meetings that weren't planned just to discuss this, including last Friday, I think Thursday and another day. So we have scheduled meetings every week in rotations, and then what we also have is just a constant communication with Wayne County Health Department. So that will continue. Every Tuesday a meeting, Fridays I'm with the Wayne County Superintendents, and then others as well.
Mr. Chair, can we call the question, please?
Thank you.
All right, trustee Moses, could you read the recommended action item for number 11?
Sure. Move the board continue with the plan as approved on February 8th, 2021 and March 8th, 2021 until further discussion on May 10th, 2021.
Do we need a roll call vote, or?
We need a motion and support.
So
first.
moved. Second.
Okay. We've got a motion by trustee Barry and support by trustee D'Ambrosio. Would you like a roll call vote?
No, I don't think we need it.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor of this action item, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
I would like to read a summary of the agenda items that were just approved. Approval of warrants. Number 2, approval of awards to Presidio Holdings per Board Report 20-79. Number 3, approval to award Presidio Holdings and Data Image Systems per Board Report 20-80. Number 4, approval of contract to Nuclear Paper and Supply. Numbers 5 through 8, approval of contract to Presidio Holdings, Inc. Number 9, approval of financial statement. Number 10, approval of policy updates, changes per board report 20-86. Number 11, approval of mode of instruction. Number 12, approval of donations. Number 13, approval of appointment of Director of Instructional Technology and Computer Services.
Okay, so I'm going to take the moment here to call up Mr. Bob Addy, our new Director of Technology. We still have Mr. Patterson around, and it's part of our transition model, and then he'll be working with Mr. Patterson, and we'll also work out an appropriate transition. We know he's a current principal in the district at Duval, and we have plans in the works for that as well, now that he's officially been approved. So let's give him a big congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. Dr. Maleko, members of the Board of Education, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to serve as the next Director of Instructional Technology and Computer Services. I can tell you that the Dearborn Public Schools has been a great place to learn, work, and grow professionally. Both of my parents attended Dearborn Public Schools, and my mom was an art teacher at Laurie Middle School. My dad played sports in the Dearborn schools and is a member of the Dearborn Sports Hall of Fame. I unfortunately inherited neither of their skills, so I went into technology. And growing up with 2 outstanding parents, it was awesome seeing the great things that I learned about our school community and our schools. And so I really wanted to be here. In 1997, I was granted that opportunity to work in the Media Services Department at Ten Eyck. And I got my start by installing Apple IIe computers. And all I can say is a lot has changed since then. Technology has gotten better, and Dearborn has been on the cutting edge. And so from that time that I started off, I've worked with Dr. Maleko, several other administrators in our Salina Tech camps, and in working with ways to integrate technology. And if there's one thing I have learned is this past year has shown us how important technology is to education, keeping kids connected, and to helping us continue during these unprecedented times. Working as a teacher, resource teacher, and administrator at Salina Intermediate, Woodworth, and Duval, I've gotten to know an outstanding group of educators, teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals, our food service staff, as we got to see today as well too, parents, and most importantly, the students. And I can tell you that in this new role, I will work collaboratively with our administrative staff, our teachers, support our technology-infused learning environment, help bring kids to the next level, and help them develop their full potential. Thank you for this opportunity.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Trustee Barry?
Yes. Dr. Maleko, when I heard of Mr. Patterson's retirement, I was concerned, to be honest with you, very concerned. I made that comment. But when I saw Mr. Addy's name, that concern went away. This is a big loss for the Duval community, but a big win for the Dearborn Public School District. We'll be here to support you in any way. Good luck to you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Trustee McDonald?
I agree 100%, but your students are gonna miss you and your strange sense of humor. But we're gonna appreciate it, so welcome aboard to the administrative building. And
Now they're gonna have to batten down the hatches here.
Yeah,
Like Trustee
we hope
Barry
we're not
said.
about to unleash a floodgate of Duval parents commenting about what we just did.
Well, Duval has been an outstanding community to work in, and I know that I appreciate all that the community has done to support me, the Board of Education, Dr. Maleko, and I know that the decision going forward for the next administrator will be a great one that we will make and will represent our school well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Board of Education Business, Acknowledgment of Correspondence.
Overall, I would thank the board for continuing to forward emails that they receive to me so that we're able to make sure everyone gets responses appropriately. Next item, please.
Board Member Committee and Organization Reports.
Trustee McDonald.
yes, we had a rather lengthy building and site meeting last week, so I'm going to cover it, but this will take just a little bit. There are several flat roof projects underway. They're done in sections over time with priority determined by wear and water testing. The last section of Salina Elementary School will be completed soon, and that will include a 20-year warranty on that project. Asphalt parking projects planned for Henry Ford, Woodworth, and the transportation yard. We also have Edsel Ford turf replacement projects. If approved, that should be completed before August. Fordson had some water damage done to not the turf itself, but the foundation under the turf. The cause of the water damage has been addressed, but the foundation will need to be fixed. Currently, a lack of demand for such projects should reduce our cost in those two areas. Fordson baseball field. The district's ground crew has done some substantial work on this project. There will be new netting along the third baseline. This is the last of a 3-year project that covered the fields of all 3 high schools. Middle school track projects. Of the 7 middle schools, we have 2 competitive track fields. And consideration is being done to add an additional one, primarily because that would allow for district-wide competition on one day with 6 schools competing on the 3 fields, and then 1 school would have a bye week. So that's something that's being consideration. I think it's probably a good move. We have underground fuel storage tanks. There are 3 in the district, and they are reaching their end of life. At that point, the insurance will run out and will no longer cover them. So they must be removed and replaced. There's 2 at the operations warehouse. One of them is a 10,000 gallon diesel fuel tank, and the other one is a $10,000 regular unleaded fuel tank. Hopefully, the replacement plan for those is 2022. There's also one at the transportation yard, which is $20,000 gallon diesel, and hopefully that one may be replaced by 2023. We discussed the idea of just filling the old ones up with sand, but then that gets into problems of contamination in the soil and different things. So best to remove them and replace them. The district does save money on gas by paying state prices with no tax. The emergency notification system, which we've been hearing about for some time. Smith's installation was just completed, and is in the testing phase. Duval Duval is complete as well. The 3 high schools are in progress. And this is a district-wide $3 million project, and there's a video that's being developed that will highlight what's included in this project, because it does cover the whole district, and there's a lot of new applications and new things that we'll be able to do. Hopefully that video will be ready to show the board next meeting. We have ESSER 2 funds and ESSER 3 funds, and the projects that we're looking at for those include replacing all building exhaust fans, adding them to the computer control system, replacing fresh air dampers and actuators, and also adding those to the computer system, which allows us to better control the percentage of fresh air that flows in and out of the buildings. Replacing boilers where needed, replacing out-of-date rooftop units, replacing unit ventilators with high-efficiency, better filtration units, replacing and upgrading air handling units, adding air conditioning to buildings. Some of these projects were included in the initial BRICS bond, including the air conditioning in some buildings, as well as replacing boilers where they're needed. We recently hired 2 HVAC professionals, and that has been a really good move for the district, because with all these ongoing projects, we have them available at the district, and they're also gaining building-specific knowledge, which will help us in the long run. Dearborn High's Media Center project, we're looking at refiguring the space for efficiency, adding 2 classrooms, 2 flex rooms, and perhaps adding AC. And a special education grant was secured by Mike Essley for this project. We also have Dearborn High gym divider curtain. The track and the mechanism system, or the mechanical system, is no longer working, and it's not worth replacing. It's not worth repairing, so it needs to be replaced. We have hydration stations. They're being added at Dearborn and Woodworth. Excuse me. And we're looking at additional locations at Stout and Smith. Cell phone tower at Stout was approved in January 2019 and is ongoing. Lowry cafeteria lighting was upgraded to LED lighting, and that made all the difference in the world. I've heard good things about that. We're looking at adding exterior coolers or freezers to Henry Ford, William Ford, Haig, Miller, Howard, and Stout. And these will look like the exterior of the buildings. They're not going to be the silver boxes that a lot of people think of. So they're going to blend in with the building. And this project will be paid from food service revenue. We're also looking at elevator replacement and upgrade projects. All elevators were inspected and a priority list was created. Total replacement is needed for Whitmore Bowles passenger elevator, Henry Ford materials lift. And door and pump upgrades are needed for Maples passenger elevator, McDonald's passenger elevator. And we need a latch mechanism replacement for Dearborn's materials lift. All of these projects were also part of the BRICS bond initially. An architect bid, architect bids are being reviewed, and we have some potential future projects that are under consideration, which is due to nearing of the end of life of these projects. Perhaps into 2023, we might be looking at the athletic track replacement for Edsel and Dearborn, and perhaps athletic turf replacement for Dearborn High. Is there anything that you can think of that I missed, those that were on the committee with me?
No,
think
but
I covered it.
I'd like to clarify again, and you mentioned that some of these projects were on the BRICS bond originally, and we are trying to move them off as we have additional fundings coming to us, mainly from the Wayne Risa millage renewal, which we know those funds are are like a one-time, that was another renewal for, I believe, 6 years again, but we want to put those kinds of funds towards things that are a one-time cost for us. So we're going to put them to use that way, and that way we won't be going back to the taxpayer again to help support that. And I believe right now, Mr. Wall can correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the CARES money, ESSER money, it's now ESSER money. I'm not sure everybody knows what ESSER is compared to CARES, but it can offset some of the costs of certain things in the district so that we can shift some of the money to our building and site needs right now. So we are doing things in bits and pieces to try to take off the most critical issues that were on the BRICS bond originally, so that we don't deteriorate any more than necessary.
The CARES was originally like the first round, and then ESSER is
ESSER's,
the
yeah.
second, and ESSER 3 would
Three,
be the
yeah.
third. And with some of the ESSER funds, you are allowed to use some of them, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but you are allowed to use some of those for infrastructure projects. They're less strict than the original CARES fund, is that correct? Okay.
But it revolves around ventilation
Right,
issues.
and those were things we had looked at
Yeah.
with the original bond and had wanted to do for the safety of our students, and again, air conditioner projects, that kind of thing, ventilation. So,
Trustee Barry.
Yes, sir. Policy committee meeting, our policy committee met earlier today, and we will be reviewing a few policies that will bring your recommendation to the full board. One of those policies is the facilities use policy. We'll be discussing that at the next meeting. Also, we'll keep an eye on Title IX policy. We're also going to be creating a social media policy. There was some good discussion there, and we will be meeting next month and bring your recommendation. The next one, in the spirit of flexibility, is going to affect our teachers. It's a policy that's going to put temporary change that will affect our teachers, social workers, and other DFT members. Just to kind of summarize, what we're looking to do there is have some additional days off for them, knowing what they're dealing with COVID and everything else. So potentially this will be just for the next couple of years. It won't be long, it's not a policy change, it's a temporary change. Other than that, if my colleagues, Trustee Watts or Trustee Moseb, do you have anything else to add?
I have a question.
Yes.
With those policies, we are still in the process of reviewing all of the policy, correct?
I don't believe so.
Or is
It's
that
what-
done?
It's what the committees wants to review or administration.
I thought we were in the process of like reviewing.
We've been slowly trying to review all the policies that we've got. So are any of these review or just some tweaks?
Most of these are review. There is the social media will be
New, right.
The review of policy is ongoing. We just got our most recent update from Neola. We get it twice a year, and that one contained probably updates to at least a dozen or so or more policy. And then, we'll get another one in the fall that will be the same way.
Okay.
And then that doesn't even go into consideration anything that may come up on the district level, like this social media policy. So it is an ongoing and never-ending process.
Okay,
All right, any other committees?
Most of it.
All right, next item, please.
Board member, superintendent commentary.
I was just waiting for a hand to go up. I knew there had to be somebody. Trustee Watts. No, it's
I was
okay.
distracted. So this month, and I know that Dr. Maleko had mentioned this earlier, that is, Arab American History Month. But on top of that, I wanted to say Ramadan Mubarak to all of those who are observing that. And then also I wanted to add that it is the week of the young child. So for those out there, is the week of early childhood educators and promoting and advocating for early childhood educators and children from 0 to 5. So it's a whole week that is a national recognized week, and I know that Governor Whitmore, I believe 2 years ago, recognized this week as well. So it's about bringing attention to all of the brain development that those little kids have. So just congratulations to all of the early childhood educators out there. So thank you.
Trustee Moses?
April is also the school library month, so we would like to thank all of our school librarians for the work they do, especially during these times.
And keeping books rotating for the students and having the drop-offs, and they've done some really amazing work. Agreed.
I would echo Trustee Watt's statements, wishing those that are celebrating Ramadan Mubarak. We heard again from the community, and there are people with very, very passionate beliefs of what should be happening with schools. What we would ask is that people be respectful of each other, always listen to each other, even when we don't always agree. Be kind. We have all been going through this now for over a year. We all need a break and help each other out when possible. Next item, please.
Request for information and/or future agenda items.
So I had mentioned earlier, when we were going through it about testing.
Testing, yes.
If you could, Dr. Maleko, just kind of give us the rundown of how much flexibility do we have? What do the different tests look for? Are we doing any tests that, how necessary are all the tests? Things like that. And if you could have that maybe for next month?
Yes.
And what would be an alternative if we were to,
Even though it might not be possible
Yeah.
for this school year. Trustee Barry?
Yes. Dr. Maleko, you mentioned earlier, how many students were in the VLP. Both numbers you mentioned is close to 1 out of 3 students is in the VLP right now. What I'd like to see, so we know who's in the VLP, and the ones that are not at the high school level, I'd like to take a look and find out, why aren't they coming in person? Why aren't they coming to schools? I had this question already, then we heard from one of our teachers saying that not many of the students are coming in. So for the 2 weeks, March 15th to March 19th, and for next week, March 19th to 23rd, I'd like to see what the attendance looks like. Not a breakdown, just maybe a percentage or whatever, at our high school level, would the students are supposed to be in person but are not showing up. And I don't know if we can or not, maybe reach out to some of the students and find out why they are not coming in. If they're just concerned or they don't want to come in or whatever the reason is, that's okay. If there's other reasons, that would concern me, so, thank you.
So Trustee Barry, sounds like what you're saying then is weekly attendance averages mainly for the high schoolers
So
since we came back?
VLP, we know.
Yep,
Okay, so for the first full week, when our students were all back in school, the 15th through the 19th, I believe that number is gonna be a little bit higher of the students coming into the classrooms. So I spoke to 2 students, one last week and one just today at 2 different high schools, and they were telling me that they had like 2 or 3 students in every
Right.
classroom.
right.
What's going on? That's all I want. Yeah, that's all I'm
Great.
looking for. Thank you.
Any other requests for information? Next item, please.
Future meeting dates, Monday, April 19th, 2021. HFC meeting, 7 PM in person here at the Frank Franchi Boardroom, so mind that change, at 7 PM. Details at hfcc.edu/board-meeting-schedule. Monday, May 10th, 2021, P12 Board of Education meeting, 7 PM at the Administrative Service Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom, and virtually available for viewing via the YouTube channel for the district, as well as the Facebook page for the district and the cable channel, Comcast Dearborn Channel 19 and WOW Channel 15.
Everyone stay safe and healthy. This meeting is adjourned.
Massive.
With 7 minutes to spare.